Look at the world around you. Do you ever get the unshakable feeling that time is accelerating, that the events unfolding on our daily news feeds are leading up to a grand, undeniable climax? Scientists and security experts often point to the Doomsday Clock, a symbolic timepiece representing the likelihood of a human-made global catastrophe, which currently sits at mere seconds to midnight. But what if a much older, far more accurate clock has been ticking for thousands of years? What if the chaotic headlines of today were actually written down in ancient manuscripts, long before the empires of our modern world even existed? Today, we are not just going to look at vague predictions. We are going to uncover 5 specific, undeniable biblical prophecies that are unfolding right before our eyes, in this exact generation. By the end of this journey, you will see history and current events through a completely different lens. And the final prophecy we will discuss is so monumental, so mathematically impossible to have happened by chance, that it is often called the super sign of the end times. But before we get to that ultimate sign, we must understand the foundation being laid right now, starting with something you are using at this very moment. We begin with the prophecy of the exponential explosion of knowledge and travel. Over 2,500 years ago, the prophet Daniel was given visions of the distant future, visions so complex that even he did not fully understand them. In Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, he was told to shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. And then a specific marker was given for that time. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. For almost all of human history, progress was entirely stagnant. A farmer in the 1st century lived almost exactly like a farmer in the 18th century. Transportation was limited to the speed of a horse or a sailboat. Information moved only as fast as a person could physically carry it. But look at what has happened in just the last breath of human history. We have gone from the horse-drawn carriage to walking on the moon in less than a single lifetime. We cross oceans in hours. We literally run to and fro across the globe in metal tubes flying above the clouds. And the increase in knowledge? We are living in the information age. A single smartphone in your pocket holds more data than the greatest ancient libraries combined. We are now seeing the rise of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and quantum computing, where human knowledge is doubling not every century, but every few hours. Daniel saw this era of hyperconnectivity and endless information thousands of years before the first electrical spark was ever harnessed. But this incredible rise in technology and connectivity was not promised to bring a utopia. In fact, it was prophesied to be accompanied by a deep, unsettling fracture in human relations, leading us directly into our second sign. The second prophecy fulfilling today is the rise of global anxiety and the escalation of conflict. You might say that there have always been wars. Since the dawn of civilization, empires have risen and fallen by the sword. So what makes today different? When Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, his disciples asked him directly what the sign of his coming and the end of the age would be. In Matthew chapter 24, he told them they would hear of wars and rumors of wars, and that nation would rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. But the original Greek words used here point to something deeper than just battlefield combat. It speaks of ethnic conflicts, global hostility, and a pervasive atmosphere of terror. Today, we live under the constant shadow of nuclear annihilation, a threat that never existed in previous centuries. A single rumor of war, a single post on social media, or a diplomatic misstep can instantly plunge the global economy into chaos and put billions of lives at risk. We are witnessing cyber warfare, biological threats, and proxy wars that involve multiple superpowers simultaneously. It is an era characterized by exactly what the ancient texts described as the distress of nations in perplexity. Humanity possesses the weapons to completely erase itself from existence, creating a low-level, constant hum of global anxiety. Yet, The scriptures tell us that these conflicts are merely the beginning of birth pains. And just as birth pains affect the physical body, the earth itself was prophesied to undergo violent physical convulsions. This brings us to the third undeniable prophecy, the groaning of the natural world through extreme weather and ecological distress. In the book of Luke, chapter 21, the prophecy continues, stating, "There will be great earthquakes, and, in various places, famines and pestilences, alongside fearful events and great signs from heaven." Furthermore, the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans chapter 8 that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Look at the patterns of our planet right now. We are seeing unprecedented natural disasters. Historic droughts are drying up major rivers and devastating crop yields, leading to the exact famines the scriptures warned about. We are witnessing earthquakes striking with devastating frequency, superstorms, unseasonable floods, and global pestilences that have recently brought the entire modern world to a complete standstill. These environmental events are not just isolated incidents, they are compounding. The metaphor of birth pains is incredibly specific. A woman in labor experiences contractions that grow closer together and become far more intense right before the delivery. This is exactly the pattern we are observing in global natural phenomena. The frequency and the financial and human cost of these disasters are breaking historical records year after year. The earth is shifting, groaning under the weight of an approaching change. But while the earth shakes and nations tremble, there is a quiet technological shift happening right under our noses, paving the way for a prophecy that was completely impossible to fulfill until right now. Our fourth prophecy is the technological preparation for a global economic system and ultimate surveillance. The book of Revelation, written by the Apostle John while exiled on the island of Patmos, contains perhaps the most famous and chilling prophecy regarding the end times. Revelation chapter 13 describes a future global authority that will implement a system where no one can buy or sell unless they have a specific mark. For centuries, scholars read this text and wondered how such a thing could ever be physically possible. How could a single government or entity track every transaction, every purchase, and every sale of every human being on the planet? Before the invention of computers and the internet, it was logistically impossible. Today, it is not only possible, but the infrastructure is actively being built. We are rapidly accelerating toward a completely cashless society. Central banks around the world are developing their own digital currencies. Biometric identification, using facial recognition, fingerprints, and even palm scans to authorize payments, is becoming normalized in supermarkets and airports. The technology to monitor, track, and control access to financial resources with the flip of a switch is already here. We carry tracking devices willingly. We surrender our privacy for convenience. The architecture required to lock someone out of the global economy instantly is fully functional. The prophecy of Revelation is no longer a mysterious allegory. It is a technical reality waiting for the right moment and the right leadership to be fully activated. But all of these signs, the technology, the wars, the nature, the surveillance, they are all orbiting around one central, historical anchor. This brings us to the fifth and most profound prophecy, the super sign of the end times, the rebirth of the nation of Israel. To understand the magnitude of this, we have to look back to the prophet Ezekiel, specifically chapter 37, the vision of the valley of dry bones. Ezekiel saw a valley filled with dried, dead bones, representing the completely destroyed, scattered house of Israel. God promised that he would put breath back into these bones, attach flesh to them, and bring them back to their own ancient land. In the year 70 AD, the Roman Empire destroyed Jerusalem and scattered the Jewish people across the earth. For nearly 2,000 years, the nation of Israel did not exist. They were a people without a homeland, wandering, persecuted, and seemingly lost to history. Never in the history of humanity has a nation been completely destroyed. Its people scattered to the corners of the globe for millennia, only to return to their exact ancient homeland, speak their exact ancient language, and become a sovereign nation once again. It defies all historical odds. Yet, on May 14th, 1948, the State of Israel was officially reborn in a single day, fulfilling the prophecy of Isaiah chapter 66, which asks, "Can a country be born in a day, or a nation be brought forth in a moment?" The fig tree, a biblical symbol for Israel, began to blossom once again. Jesus told his followers to learn the lesson from the fig tree. When its branches become tender and its leaves sprout, you know that summer is near. The rebirth of Israel started the ultimate prophetic clock. Every other geopolitical event described in end times prophecy requires Israel to be back in their land. It is the geographic and spiritual epicenter of the final chapters of human history. These 5 prophecies are not meant to cause panic or paralyzing fear. Quite the opposite. They are given as a beacon of light in a darkening world. When you know the end of the story, you do not have to be terrified by the chapters leading up to it. The scriptures tell us that when we see these things begin to take place, we are to stand up and lift up our heads, because our redemption is drawing near. The ancient texts are proving their divine authorship by accurately predicting the exact state of our modern world. The clock is ticking, the pieces are falling into place, and the stage is set. The only question that remains is, are you paying attention?